Entry-level mining information. Welcome to Australian Mining for New Starters. And today we'll do the prices, we'll have a look at some news articles, and I just want to have a bit of a chat about how the media is concentrating pretty much solely on the trade and degree jobs. They miss a lot of jobs from the mine and the mill when they do those articles. But first, let's have a look at copper. So that's running at $11,531 a tonne Australian, which means everybody's trying to get their copper production back up and running because that's big money for copper. Next, we'll have a look at nickel, which is in the 16,000 mark, which makes it US, that is, which makes it $21,336 Australian. And again, that puts it in a profitable area. It's not quite as high as its all-time high. Believe it or not, its all-time high is 45,000 US a tonne. So it's got a long way to go before it gets there. But at that price, lots of companies are making money on it. And that's why Mincor is reopening some of their mines, some of their older mines, like Mariners around Kambalda and Kalgoorlie. And they're also starting off new ones. And this mine that they've opened up here, which is a new nickel mine, which I talked about last week. This is just an article talking about how they're naming the decline after one of the geologists that discovered the nickel deposits around Kambalda. So it's going to be renamed the Woodall Decline, and that's going to be a fairly large underground mine. It's initially slated for 5 years. On another article that I read last week somewhere, I think it might have been the West Australian newspaper, they said they were going to turn over about 16,000 tonnes a year of nickel. And that turns in, at today's nickel prices of 21,000 a tonne, that turns into, just a bit under $400 million a year turnover. So that's a great turnover for a nickel mine. So next is gold. And the gold price is pretty much the same as it was last week, but during the week it went down by $70 and then it came back up by $70. So there's a lot of play in gold at the moment, which means that it'll probably go a lot higher. There's been some issues with silver as well. There's been some talk about the Perth Mint not being able to deliver smaller amounts of silver, which they've come out and said that it was a production issue and they're manufacturing smaller bars of silver now so people can buy them. But if you go onto their website, they're not always available. So it's getting pretty close to a lot of the metals, there not being enough actual physical stock on the shelves for people to buy. So you just need to keep that in mind too with what's going on in the industry. Once they start having supply issues, then the money really goes up. Now, because the money's already going up, as in the prices, a lot of employers are taking the opportunity to try and lock in their workforce for the next boom. And that brings me on to this article about Goldfields giving their workers a 6% pay rise to try and build a bit of goodwill and try and lock everybody in. But it looks like it's going to be a bit of a double pay rise, I reckon, because they're talking about it as a side allowance between $300 and $600 a month, depending on what you were doing and where you're doing it and all that sort of stuff. That gives them scope to raise the wages as well independently, which they're probably going to have to do to keep people, because there's a lot of work going in the hard rock underground mine areas, and experienced people are getting paid big money for those jobs, and it continues to go up. Now, iron ore is still over $160 US a tonne, which makes it $214 Australian, which is really good money. And the story is still the same with iron ore. They're not really interested in opening up more production, the big three. There's a few smaller mobs that are trying to have a look around at the moment, but they don't think that this price is going to sustain because Brazil is still off. But even if it does sustain, their big priority is trying to get their workforce switched over from people driving trucks to driverless trucks, so people from the site down here in Perth, and they're trying to make more money that way by reducing the wages bill rather than bringing on more production. But there are companies that are around looking for iron ore because it is a high price, but this is the first one that I've seen in a while where someone's done some exploration drilling. Most of the drilling is being done in nickel and gold at the moment to look for deposits. And if you jump onto Australian Mining, the Facebook page. You can go through their last couple of days or weeks, and you'll see 90% of the information on there is about gold mines and opening up gold mines and exploration for gold mines. A few nickel stories thrown in there, and if it's an iron ore story, it's about the high price, or it's about them going driverless. It's not really about them opening up any new mines. Coal has gone up a little bit, which makes it $92 Australian a tonne. Again, I've already talked about this with it being a political football, unfortunately, and a lot of people that are working on coal mines at the moment really don't know where they stand from one day to the next. So you see a lot of traineeships that are coming up for coal mines around the place, and that's just to replace staff that are getting poached. What do I mean? If we come over to Seek, and I've just typed surface in, and you'll see these two jobs. Mining People International, they've got a big office in Kalgoorlie. They've got these two jobs going up, and they're aimed at people working on coal mines in New South Wales and Queensland, but it's about poaching them for the big open pit gold mines around Kalgoorlie that they're still needing people for. They are offering a substantial package to relocate, and compared to what a lot of people are getting driving in open pit on the coal mines, it's pretty lucrative, and it's only going to go up as the demand for it all goes up. So there's a lot of poaching going on, so be aware of that. And lastly, we'll just have a look at where the gold mines are. This is a map. People often ask where this map's contained. It's just you just Google it through map of Australian mines, and the Australian government site comes up, and you can have a look at the copper, you can have a look at coal, you can have a look at iron ore, whatever you want to have a look at, you can do. And I'll just plug in nickel, and we can have a look at that. And you can see where all the nickel mines are around here in WA, the new ones that are opening up, and that's BHP's Leinster operation up that way. We can have a look at copper, and copper tends to run with gold and silver as well. So if you bring up the map for silver, you'll see there's lots of mines around that not only that make one thing but make a couple of things. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity around. Now, like I was saying before, when the media do an article about jobs, it's always about degree jobs or trade jobs. It's never about the actual mining jobs or the jobs on the mill that are classed as unskilled labour, even though they pay lots of money. Now, because of that, there's not a clear pathway in. But if you want to have a look at getting into hard rock underground as a nipper, an offsider, a truck driver, or even a member of service crew, then check out the sponsors' Intro to Underground Mining page and the courses that they do. It's all online. You can go through at your own pace. You can go through as many times as you want. It only costs $450, and it's got all the information in there that the employer wants you to know if you're going to try and be a nipper, a truck driver, a member of service crew, or an offsider. It even has instructions on resume and interview tips in the Australian Mining Seminar, which is really good. Now, if you want some more support, you can get a shift boss to help you. It costs $8.99. You still do all the same online training. It's just they redo your resume for you, make sure you're across the mining information, and prep you for the interview, coming up with a plan of where and how you're going to try and get in. So if you want to have a crack at getting into underground, this is a good pathway to take. If you are looking for surface, then I would recommend you going to a mining town and getting your HR license. And if you are trying to get into iron ore or coal at the moment, just be aware that the traineeships that they offer don't necessarily pay the big money that mining's known for. And with some of those iron ore jobs, well, 95% of those iron ore jobs, chances are in 2 years' time you won't actually be on site. You'll be down in Perth in an office. And I can tell you in here and now, they're not going to pay $150,000 for somebody to sit in an office and click a mouse. It's going to be $75,000 or $80,000 a year. But they'll probably still want you to work 2 and 1, knowing how the iron ore operators work. I hope you find that information helpful. And if you've got any questions about the industry, please send them in. And if you can like and subscribe the channel. Thank you.